So who is responding in what certain way? Oh, we don't need to know.
It's my cat.
It's your dog. Yeah. All right. So there you go. Okay.
How could it happen?
I don't know, it just happened.
No, go and find it.
Okay, I'll try my best to find it.
You're such an irresponsible girl. Go away and find it.
You're shy. That was great. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention about when you do this particular exercise, I think it's also a good opportunity, well, I should say, it's not. Don't bother correcting grammar when they do this. The reason I suggest that is because whenever students have to come up on stage and actually do any kind of performance, they feel very nervous. And if you start correcting their grammar afterwards, they'll kind of go, and you don't need to. The other thing too is that for this particular activity, it's really great that you're just speaking out so very naturally. You can do the grammar corrections on the dialogue when you're dealing with reading material. That's a very good time to do it. But if you're dealing with any kind of scriptless dialogue, don't worry about grammar corrections so much. It's really not a huge issue. It's better to allow them to focus on getting it out in the first place. That was terrific. Any others? No, everybody's so shy. Come on, one more group. How are you doing? Would you like to come up? Oh, you have a sore throat. Okay.
My partner had a sore throat.
Oh, so you're working this out here right now. Oh, I see. Okay. All right, well then you're next. Anybody else who would like to try this? Okay, well I'm not going to force you to do it. The thing is though, as I said, please do remember that any kind of role play that you're doing, and just again goes back to your question, if you really want students to have a real emotional reaction to what they're doing here, you have to be willing to do it yourself. You have to be willing to show them and say, you're not acting angry enough. Be angry, right? Like bang your fist on something. Get really aggressive. And just remind them, though, that of course it is just fun. That's all it is, nothing more. And the sadness as well. You can really draw it out. Soap opera kind of weeping. My dog, I love my dog. How did I grew up like you can really play it up. And the other part of it, responding to it. So again, don't be afraid to sort of make yourself look a little foolish, but all in a good cause. So are there any questions about this last activity? The thing about this last activity, about you can really change the idea of anything you want. The key to the whole thing is emotional responses and moving people from one to another, and also making them generate a story of some kind. Okay? That's going to be a big part of it. Are there any questions about this particular activity? No? Okay, so just to very briefly review, I know we've still actually got some time here, but to review what we started with here, the very first activity that I gave you is the fastest, the least preparation. And it's, as I said, a very, very good warm-up. Okay? The second activity, we're dealing with role play again, but role play with a script. Okay? And some of the things that you can, in fact, actually do in that. And this last activity is the idea of when you want to get rid of the script, when you're really going to let them engage themselves in just expression. All of these activities you can do in under 20 minutes, although perhaps the first time you teach them how to do it, it might take a little bit longer. But if you find a particular activity that works well for you, you can repeat it. And if students have done it once or twice before, they can get into formation very, very quickly, and it makes very good use of the limited amount of time that you might actually have. Okay. All right, now I wasn't sure exactly how long all of this was going to take. We still got 20 minutes left. So what I did want to take some questions, but we still have time for questions. So what I'm going to actually do is is I've prepared 2 other activities that are also in the same sort of grouping. I really wasn't sure, again, how long this might take. So I'm going to show you very briefly now 2 quick other activities that you can also do in the classroom that don't take very much time, that are very, very easy to do. These are not listed in the outline. I didn't include them there, so you'll just have to follow. The very first one is a vocabulary exercise. Now, this vocabulary exercise is a very, very simple one to do. All you need to do is draw on a category, okay? And students love competing with one another. And this is a very, very quick, fast way in which you can do this, okay? What I would normally do is ask for 2 volunteers. I'll use you 2 since you're right here. You don't need to stand up, you can stay sitting down. Now, what I want you to do is simple. I'm going to give you a category, and I simply want you to provide me with 1 word that could be used, 1 noun that could be used in that category, okay? And once you run out of possible words, that's it. We move on to the next category, okay? So for us, the example, let's start off with something simple. Colors. Rainbow's not a color. But it's not a color. It's an ice cream, but it's not a color.
Orange.
Did you say orange? Sorry.
Brown.
Violet?
Light blue. Dark blue.
At this point, you have to say, good, no more light, no more dark. You're not going home. No. It's an ice cream, too. Okay, this is where you go. Done. Good. Done. And now you can move on to the next person. Okay. Again, if you do this, and notice that we generated a lot of vocabulary in very, very little time. Right? You keep the categories open. You can do things like, for example, here we move and we say, okay, sports, tennis,
Basketball. Baseball. Softball. Touch. Fence.
fencing.
Fencing.
Oh, don't help. If you start helping her again, we'll be here forever. It's tempting to do that, though. Everyone's like, I know. You can't say. But this is the kind of pattern you run through. And you can actually come up with an incredible list of categories to generate lots and lots of very, very fast vocabulary for students at the beginning of a class, or even at the end, if you want to wake them up again just before they're leaving, kind of thing. You can do it in terms of if you can group vocabulary for a certain subject area that you happen to be teaching, or you can just make it easy, like I did. Colors, sports, animals, clothing, body parts, cities, countries. You can really extend it anywhere. You know, this is a very, very open sort of thing to do. And usually, again, at the very beginning, there are lots, and then you get the longer and longer silences. You usually allow a 5-second delay, and if after 5 seconds there is no answer, you're finished, right? And then you move on to the next pair of students. Yeah, students generally seem to enjoy it as something of a, it is almost like a game. But the thing is, I don't usually like to use the word game, because I think game always makes it sound like it's just playtime, right? My motivation for using these things is because they're effective in getting students to talk a lot, or getting a lot of vocabulary out of them, as this particular one does. I don't have to say very much at all. You do all the talking. So it's very effective as far as the amount of English that I'm using, the amount of talking that I'm doing, and the amount of talking that they're doing. Okay? So that's categories. And as I said, there are lots for that. Are there any questions about that particular one? It's a very short, very simple exercise. No? Okay, move on to another. All right, this one, I should write it on the board.